Yeah, yeah, okay, 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 yeah, yeah, yeah. Look, me versus you and you know what they picking. Cheap and expensive, you know it's the difference. You know that it's hitting, you know what it's giving. Hair, nails, all the there. I could survive in the coldest conditions. Hoes better all they do when they spin. Bitches is washed, up in the dishes. I apply pressure like ball constrictors. One bitch, two bitch, old bitch, new bitch. None of y'all bitches not gon' do shit. I'm in Miami, I pull up on cruise ship. You in Miami for also room shit. When I step the stampede, put on neck, can't breathe. Lucky charm, Van Cleave, diamond song, I see my eye. Lick it up, I'm like, what in the fuck? If you scared, then just say that hoe enough is enough. They was just in my DMs, ain't no trust in these sluts. I'm about to call up diamond, bitch. Not if you link it up. I'm like, what in the fuck? If you scared, then just say that hoe enough is enough. They was just in my DMs, ain't no trust in these sluts. I'm about to call up diamond, bitch. Not if you fuck. I'm like, ooh, child, cool down, too hot, too wild, too clear, new style. How you fuck with me? Girl, give me one shot, I'm raising the glass. Give me 2 shots, I'm shaking this ass. Give me 3 shots, I'm ready to fuck. 5 more shots, I'll be ready to splash. It's to me, so I gotta pop it. I'm sending on business, I'm ready about it. Bitch, be talking, I'll be big in their pocket. Girl, tell me about it. I'm litty, I'm pretty, I'm running the city. I'm shitting on bitches in every department. This ass heavy, thick like peanut butter. Bitches jelly about it. A lot of winning, a lot of scoring here. Cardi Bryant, Cardi Jordan here. These bitches all losers. What they can't do is not important. Look, hey, I'm getting better and better. I do not see no competitors. You know the gang hit that pussy. Said it was regular dollar. Anybody can see me in fashion, can see me with money. These bitches is bugging. Either these bitches is blind or I'm invisible. Bitch can see me at night. When I hop out with stampede, put on neck, can't breathe. Lucky charm, Van Cleave, diamond song, I see my eye. Lick it up, I'm like, what in the fuck? If you scared, then just say that hoe enough is enough. They was just in my DMs, they no trust in these sluts. I'm about to call up diamond, bitch. Not if you lick it up, I'm like, what in the fuck? If you scared, then just say that hoe enough is enough. They was just in my DMs, they no trust in these sluts. I'm about to call up diamond, bitch. Not if you fuck.
Yes, 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 yes. I am back. Baby phone for a limited amount of time. If you want to see that video that I got struck for, not struck, but knocked down for today, the second live, I have it on my wall. You can view it through Twitter. If you want the actual personal video, I have that too. You know, I like to say, I would hope people would have community responsibility, right? So, um, some may be new to the sector, some may be new to having channels or what have you, and you may not know what to do in case of um, things like getting a warning, getting your video taken, all that, right? And so, because I have community responsibility and I like to make sure that your work isn't wasted, I wish I knew what I knew now back then when I did that 18-hour and 44-minute live. There, there hasn't been a live since that I've done that I can say anybody else has done that can top that live. And anybody to tell you anything different is lying. Okay? But yet, only have what? About 4 hours of it. I think it's like 4 hours in the beginning. All right. But if anybody has um, any video from that live, please send it to me if you want to. If no, it's all good, but it'll be nice. Hey, Karen. Yeah. So listen. What I suggest, and especially while we are paying This whole, even if you ain't paying StreamYard or whatever services you have, please set up a secondary platform to stream on away from YouTube. Okay? I'm learning something different every day, right? And I'm not the most computer literate person, right? When it comes to streaming and things of that nature. And other things, right? I'm really not. But let me tell you, use Twitter and Facebook, like set up a platform over there. You can use your channel name like I do. And this is just some tips, right? This is pro tips. I'm just trying to tell you. Because you want to make sure you preserve your creatives, okay? So set up, and this is just my opinion, this would be my advice. Set up something over there on Twitter or Facebook because they allow you to stream a long time. Instagram only allow you to do it for an hour. Okay, so we long-winded over here. Okay, so hey, Miss Tanya. So set up you a streaming, platform over there on Twitter and Facebook. Both of them or either one. Okay. StreamYard will let you stream to, I have the play. I don't have the business account. I have the one that's right beyond below that. So it'll allow me to stream up to 3 different platforms. And there are other like I don't know if Restream or Riverdale or some of the others that you saw me experimenting with. But I know one of them in there let you do 5, okay, 5 platforms for one live, right? So, but anyway, remember, honey, we all in this together. So I believe in helping and whatever. And this is just me. I don't care if you like me or not. I'm still going to put the information out there so people can know. All right. So set up set up your back. You can use those other channels as backup. That's another way to get visibility. Like I'm saying, I love Twitter. You got Dennis Byrne over there. There's not very many people from here that's over there utilizing that space. So therefore, we get a lot of people from over there, right? So, um, and new people and new energy, things of that nature, right? That's where everybody like to use energy. So I'm gonna use it. So set that up, right? And you just when you do your set up your live, you just pick the locations it's going, just like you pick YouTube, you pick Facebook and or Twitter, set that up, and then if there is an issue, because you never know when YouTube is going to knock you down. It doesn't matter if you are monetized. It doesn't matter if you got 1,000 subscribers. None of that. That has no bearings on copyright. Like, I understand some of this should be common sense, but anyway. Has no bearing on copyright. If YouTube or StreamYard feel as though you are violating the terms of service, and copyright violation is a terms of service, part of terms of service, they will, either take you down temporary and bring you back up, or take your whole video like it did with me today on YouTube. So it was a YouTube violation, right? Took my whole video. Luckily, I had it backed up. I have other ways to back it up too. but I didn't even have those that other backup going, right? My personal backup. So thank God I had it streaming to Twitter and Facebook, right? So um so it doesn't matter if you monetize, doesn't matter if you have 100, I'm sorry, 1,000 subs, doesn't matter. Okay? What matter is if you streaming third party content. They reserve the right to either give you a warning by knocking you down temporarily and bringing you back up, but letting you know if you keep on streaming, we're gonna knock you down and probably take your video. All right. Sometimes it knocks you down or off, whatever you want to call it, and then um but it brings you back up, and it'll tell you in your back office sometimes that you can trim out the segments, cover the segments that's you know causing your video from being viewed. Sometimes it tells you it's some limited visibility, or sometimes it's telling you it's blocked all over. Okay, you just have to get in there, get in your studio, and follow the instructions, and it it'll tell you right on your dashboard what what pertains to you. And also in that email you get from them, from Google or YouTube, if you click on it, or it's from Google, YouTube, or StreamYard, if you click on it, it'll tell you what happened, what you can do. And just follow the instructions. Okay, it's not that difficult. Okay, so but here's the thing, right? Because I had it backed up on Twitter and Facebook, I was able to give y'all on my community board, I was able to give you the link to Twitter to view that live. Also, on Facebook, I'm able to download it, and it comes out as a regular video, and that's why I was able to post it on my backup. And I wanted to run it to see, will it allow me to trim out the third party content over there on Club Blue. But you see that it allowed the video to just run and post, and it gave me a copyright, like it's telling me I'm running third party content, and it's not blocked all over. It's blocked in certain places, but y'all can still see it. However, you can't see it on this main channel. The video is gone. So the video, I saved it on Facebook. The video, I posted it over on Club Blue, but they took it, the whole video, on this channel. But I still have that work. Okay, crazy, right? It's a lot going on. So yeah, make sure y'all hit that good old like button. Please like us up, because I'm happy to be in other sectors, right? Other sectors. So, but make sure you do that, because you don't want to lose your work. Okay. That's if you want to. If you don't, don't worry about it. But I ran it over there on Club Blue just to see if it'll give me the same problems that it gave me over here, which it did. And as you see, it's still up over there. And I wanted to see if I could trim it in that studio office over there, and then maybe repost it over here, because it'd be easier using that studio office to trim it out, rather than using my own personal program. But it wouldn't allow me to, but it still posted it over on Club Blue. So you can watch it over there on Club Blue, or you can watch it on the link I gave you for Twitter, or you can watch it on Facebook if you need that link, whatever you want to do. The work is still there, so that's the most important part. All right, so I just don't like that's a lot of work, and I'm scarred from that losing that 18.44 minute hour video. So I'm scarred. Okay, I don't want to lose nothing else. So that's where you can find that video. Moving on, hey purple, purple. So the people I don't like, which is a goddamn conspiracy theorists, and I'm glad that they're being dealt with now. Okay, slowly but surely. All right, as you may have heard, I guess Jay Z and Beyonce got in touch with um, Piers Morgan show because what her name is, Jaguar Wright was on his show and she's been making her rounds. And I told y'all, if y'all read my wall, that like podcast interviewers and interviewees and stuff, they are making a pretty nice piece of change by going around and making up shit. You know what I'm saying? But I won't say everybody's doing that, but people that's doing a lot of interviews and stuff like that, they're making money doing this stuff. They're making money or they're getting something out of it. They're leveraging their appearance in some form of fashion. Okay. So but I wrote, something pretty comprehensive with regards to it on my wall what yesterday, maybe the day before, to kind of explain what's going on with that. So, but anyway, so as you um, can tell, right, I don't reference Jaguar right over here as far as anything she said, right? Because I don't count what she says. I just don't count. As a matter of fact, I discount it. Her and Dame and some of the other people, right? Because I think I understand the motivation behind what they say, and they got some other shit going on, right? So I don't use them as a source. Because see, again, once I use them as a source, I now, when I put it out, however I put it out, I become the expert on that particular topic I'm talking about. Because I'm delivering it to whoever is reading it, right? Who's ever engaging with me. Now, in my opinion, I have just based whatever information I'm giving y'all on information that is suspect. I can't do it. Okay, a lot of people can play up what she says, but she plays it up and all of that. I can't do it. I think people, as I was told, um, by, well, I ain't gonna get into all that, but anyway, somebody told me that, they look to us for, for accurate information, and they listen to us over here, right? So, and that's how I want it. I want inaccurate information, and it's not all about entertainment because I can be entertained with accurate information. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to be entertained with inaccurate information because I'm just sitting here wondering, huh? you know, I put some kind of level of psychology behind every goddamn thing. You ain't gonna hurt my goddamn head. They have me, going up and down and around in circles looking crazy on some bad information. I'm just not gonna be able to do that. What up, Karen Johnson? Mm-hmm. So I don't reference her. I don't even trust her evidence. I was looking at this interview. I think I posted it back there on the wall. I was giving it a chance because it dropped down, and I forgot what it is. That's I fell asleep on. That's just and I woke up on, and I realized I had ran out of candy, and I had ran out of something good to eat. So I went over there to Popeyes and let them bless me, child, and they blessed me. You hear me? When I tell you, the other day was the first time I had one of them Popeyes chicken sandwiches. I see why they was in the line fighting and stuff like that. My belly, I don't feel like my belly is ready for any spicy food, so I'm okay with the regular chicken sandwich. I don't know if the spice is better or whatever. I really don't care. All I know is that chicken was juicy, and I like Miracle Whip mayo. So like it's sweet, right? They have regular mayo. That mayo was even good. Mm-hmm. Child. So yeah, they blessed me, honey. They hooked me up. Oh, have mercy, be some people here from Twitter. I'm trying to tell you, it's off the chain. I sure appreciate y'all. Make sure you like us up. Mm-mm. Hey, if you're new, welcome. And if you aren't, welcome again, baby. Okay. So, but yeah. So anyway, I just can't. I can't. I can't. I can't. I can't use Jaguars. I can't. And a lot of stuff she says, I don't know. You can say it's from knowledge that is already out here. You can definitely say it's stuff she's putting together and she's making up. And she's interjecting herself into the situation, like for real though. Like, her. Dame Dash, I see Dame Dash is on the road to doing this foolishness, right? Everybody that is exploiting this interview stuff, and right now they are milking the cow when it comes to Diddy. Dame Dash just sat up there with the interview I've seen with the green shirt. I'm in the middle of listening to that. He sat right up there on the ball of his ass and talking about he had never heard about the parties. That's BS. They still trying to figure out the names of the person on the video. I don't know if it's two videos or one that attorney um, somehow is involved in now, because they have found out how to make a mean dollar with all these interviews and going to platforms and leveraging it into merchandise and all kinds of stuff, right? I kind of wondered why Attorney Bumpers, you remember Woody's attorney, why she, cranked up her YouTube channel and getting active like that, not really as an attorney, but more like a content creator. So hey, it is what it is. But they are really getting down. They're getting, they got contracts going on with each other, all kinds of stuff going on. And y'all notice now, is it just me or is have y'all noticed that Vlad have been like coming from behind that camera to going on all them interviews and shit? I've seen him more times in 2 weeks than I have seen him in the entire time he's been on YouTube, straight up and down. I was messing with Vlad and I don't know what sector it was called because sorry about the candy, y'all. When Tommy Sotomayor had came and did a interview with Vlad and Tariq Nasheed came, crashed the interview. Y'all remember that? I don't know if y'all remember that. But I was running around uh, whatever sector that would have been. I don't know what that was called. But yeah. Be careful, Karen. Thank you, ma'am. So, yeah. And I remember Vlad back then. So, yeah. So you have Dame, saying all kind of stuff and trying to, throw Jay-Z up under the bus. So that's why I'm saying he's next. Because apparently Jay-Z and Bay done sent Piers Morgan a kite. And they said, hey, you better take that mess down with Jaguar, right? But I'm gonna play it. Press my luck. Let me open up my email. Yeah. Also, make sure you have your email open. Whatever you signed up with StreamYard and YouTube with, just in case if they are saying that they're getting ready to knock you down or whatever because you're playing third party content, you can stop it. Yeah. So I don't. And another thing, I don't like people lying on others. I don't like that because at some point we don't know if the person is really, really putting out a conspiracy theory based on what they feel and their suspicion, or are they just lying? You know, I do not like it. I really don't. So, what I'm gonna do, because I'm not gonna be on her long. Also, P Diddy had hired some additional attorneys, right? Because he went out of that jail, and I guess he figured he put up the most attractive bail package as he thought he was doing, and he overdid it. But I mean, not really, because you want to do what you can do to make it seem like you are, like, oh my gosh, like you are going, you plan to be the best. Won't giving people no problems. You're not gonna break the law. You assuring them you're gonna turn up for every hearing. You're gonna be accessible. You're not going anywhere. You're not going out the country. Your children aren't, so that's not going to be a temptation. You're willing to tap your money and all of that just for them to let you out. And again, because he has a presumption case with regards to his charges. And I know, again, like I keep saying, I know this probably is going to confuse some people, but with the presumption case, based on your charges, you are presumed to be guilty until they prove some type of have some kind of evidence or whatever that will prove you innocent. The bar with bail, the the burden is low, right? So it's not the standard, beyond reasonable doubt, and you're presumed innocent until they find you, guilty, right? It's two different things. We're talking about bail, and a presumption case is treated a little differently. All right. So it's a presumption case, as well as they are saying that he is dangerous. And I told you way back with Kale's case, anytime 9 10 times when you see an obstruction charge, anything about obstruction in there, they probably aren't going to give you bail. Sex crimes involving children and things of that nature, they can write up in a way that they're probably not going to give you bail. And they considered R. Kelly a sadomasochist or something, like whatever that sexual word is. And when it translates in law, it means you're dangerous. So therefore, the odds are stacked against you when it comes to you getting a bail. So again, presumption case, anytime you hear that, it relates to the bail and his charges. So he's presumed guilty. I know it's different. I'm not talking about what the Constitution states. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about his bail. That's it. We're not talking about the overall outcome of his case. How you should be viewed overall with regards to the law. No, they're just talking about the bail portion of it. I know it's crazy. It is what it is, right? And after I explained it to you guys a few times, I heard other attorneys on other channels, after he had got denied 2 or 3 times, trying to explain it. I was explaining it more successfully than I am, to that audience. So he appealed that decision, right? and I got a hold of the appeal that was done today. Got a hold to that appeal, so I'm gonna uh, I'm either gonna read some of it or put that reader on. I'm gonna read some of it because it looks very well put together. I mean, hell, it's let me see how many pages. It's 270 pages. And appeal for bail, child. Yeah. So, and if I'm not mistaken, he just hired an attorney that is an appellate attorney. So that means that that means that this is what they specialize in. Okay. So, but anyway, let me go with this. And again, I am so glad that they that Beyonce and Jay is doing something to these people that are just putting out stuff on folks. I told you, lying on folks stuff, that's dangerous. Jesus.
And I expect that there will be some people named in these lawsuits that will raise some eyebrows.
How big an eyebrow raise are we talking about? I mean, are we talking about names as big as Diddy, potentially?
These are crimes that are so serious that it would likely leave Sean Combs in jail the rest of his life, or nearly for the rest of his life.
I think he has an out option, and that is popping a cyanide pill.
If he wanted to kill himself, he would have been dead already.
But Choke, I mean, you might have said the same thing about Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, you didn't wait for the best part yet. He's going to be indicted for the murder of Tupac and the notorious B.I.G.
The shocking allegations leveled at Sean Diddy Combs have burst the floodgates on salacious claims about an industry many people believe harbored a monster. Understandably, the internet's ablaze with claims about these events and whether other powerful figures were involved too. Well, last week I interviewed Jaguar Wright, a singer-songwriter who's made claims about Diddy for years. Those claims had already received a lot of attention in the media across many platforms for many years. And that's the thing about platforms. The reality of the modern world is that pretty much everyone has a platform as long as they have something to say that other people want to hear. That's why we invited her on to be interviewed. The people making these claims have an audience with or without shows like mine. Well, Jaguar Wright unexpectedly made several serious allegations about Jay-Z and Beyonce during that interview. As I said in the moment, they were not present to respond or defend themselves, but now they have. Their lawyers contacted us to say that those claims were totally false and have no basis in fact, and we've therefore complied with the legal request to cut them from the original interview. Editing interviews is not something we do lightly at a show called Uncensored. But, like the proverbial cries of fire in a crowded theatre, there are legal limits on us too. And we apologise to Jay-Z and Beyonce. Well, now Sean Diddy Combs is reportedly putting together an O.J. Simpson-style legal dream team to defend federal charges on sexual assault, sex trafficking, and racketeering. It certainly looks like he's going to need all the legal help he can get. Well, last week, Houston attorney Tony Busby held a bombshell press conference to announce he's representing 120 alleged victims of the rat mogul, during which he gave new and disturbing details.
When we talk about the ages of the victims when the conduct occurred, it's shocking. Our youngest victim at the time of the occurrence was 9 years old. We have an individual who was 14 years old. We have one who was 15. 25 of the 120 individuals who are plaintiffs in these cases were minors at the time of the acts complained of.
In a moment, my panel will dissect and debate all of the latest developments, shocking developments. But first, I'm joined by attorney Tony Busby, who you just heard speaking there. Mr. Busby, thank you very much indeed for joining me. I want to read you a statement overnight from Janice Smalls Combs, who is Diddy's mother. And it came by her lawyer, Natalie Figures. It says this: I come to you today as a mother that is devastated and profoundly saddened by the allegations made against my son, Sean Combs. It is heartbreaking to see my son judged not for the truth, but for a narrative created out of lies. To bear witness what seems to be like a public lynching of my son before he's had the opportunity to prove his innocence is a pain too unbearable to put into words. Just first of all, your reaction to that statement from his mother.
That's exactly what I would expect the mother to say. You know, these allegations are shocking. These allegations are egregious. And that's why they have court systems, because we will ferret this out in the court system. We intend to prove our cases. Obviously, we're not going to prove our cases at a press conference. And, you know, with all due respect to her, you know, I've talked to these victims and I believe them. So that's exactly what I would expect his mother to say.
Your hotline took 12,000 calls in 24 hours, including many new allegations involving minors. At the moment, there's no class action. Each case you take will be represented individually. But just the fact you've got 120 already that you're repping, and you're getting so many calls, what does that tell you about the scale of all this?
Well, you know, I know that's reported 12,000 calls in a 24-hour period. And of course, that's true. I want people to know that, you know, obviously that's not 12,000 people claiming to be victimized by Sean Combs. That's, you know, a large portion of those people calling with, you know, words of support. Others were prank calls and crank calls, as you might imagine, in this kind of situation. What's most interesting to me and what's most helpful are people that call that have bits of information, bits of evidence, video, perhaps pictures. And then, of course, we're particularly interested in people that had interaction with Mr. Combs and what they say happened to them and victims. But, you know, I was trying to get my head around the fact that, you know, we're talking about thousands of people calling and hundreds of alleged victims. And how could that possibly be the case? But, you know, when you put that in context and you think about conduct that allegedly occurred over a 25-year period, in multiple different venues, parties every week, sometimes multiple times a week. And the same MO each time has been alleged. Typically, it involves some sort of illicit substance placed in someone's drink, and then that individual is coerced or taken advantage of. And that's kind of the overarching theme here. And so a lot of these calls, you know, on first glance, you say, my goodness, that's just impossible that many people would call with information or who have been victimized. But when you look at it in the context of a long period of time in a particular modus operandi, it makes a lot of sense.
I mean, numbers are staggering. You've also said that there are other big names that will come out in relation to these charges. He says the day will come, you said this, when you start naming names. When will that day be, and how big are these names that we're talking about?
Yeah, people are very interested in that, of course. That comment has been repeated back to me, as you might imagine, many times. And people are, you know, waiting with bated breath, hoping that, you know, I'm going to name these big celebrity names. But I can tell you this, I look at it in this context. If you attended one of these events, and we're talking about, you know, we've heard about the white party and the freak offs and the after parties, but there's also, you know, impromptu parties at studios, after parties from concerts, album release parties, hotel parties. I mean, the list goes on and on. But in my view, if you attended those and you saw or knew that somebody was being given drugs, that their drinks were being drugged, and you sat by and either participated in some of this activity or encouraged this activity or allowed it to go on and helped cover it up, or were in the room while it was happening and said nothing and did not intervene, and perhaps attended more of these parties knowing that this type of conduct was going to occur, it's my view, that may not be the criminal justice system's view, but it's certainly my view that you're complicit. And we intend to name people in these lawsuits. We're not going to do it in interviews. We're not going to do it, you know, without doing our due diligence, because obviously, you know, these types of allegations are very hurtful to people if they're not true, and very hurtful, frankly, if they are true. But if they're true, you shouldn't have been in the room and you shouldn't have been participating. So I anticipate that we're going to start filing lawsuits, and it may not be big names at first, but we have a long list of names. And you might imagine in situations like this, that when a victim tells us that this person was in the room or this person participated, we want to do as much due diligence as humanly possible before we file that case, because in the United States, in almost every state, public filings are in fact public. And, when you name somebody in a lawsuit, the press is going to pick it up, and we're aware of that. So we're going to make sure that we dot our I's and cross our T's. And I expect that there will be some people named in these lawsuits that will raise some eyebrows.
Right. I mean, how big an eyebrow raise are we talking about? Because you've been hearing a lot of names, presumably, in the process of all these calls coming in. And
What up, Lavelle? I just want to say, if I tell you a duck can pull a truck, shut up and hook the sucker up. I have been describing and telling you exactly what this attorney just said. That man all the way over there in Texas. I don't know him. That, that the type of celebrities, remember I told you, all of them aren't like big, they like celebrities that you may never ever even heard of. Lower tier type folks. But it's not just, celeb entertainers like that in the industry. Sports people, business people, hanger-ons, friends. It's a lot going on, child. Ooh, this is gonna get ugly. This is going to be ugly. I just can't believe this. This is crazy. Like I keep asking the question, how far down are they going? And what type of a liability are they going to assess to people that were there but maybe didn't participate, right? A lot of those. You understand what I'm saying? I told y'all what other type of people was there. I mean, it's coming out now. I told you it was just people that show up to dance, show up to serve, naked, or damn near close to it. A lot of shit going on, honey. And I told y'all the different locations. It was a hotel, parking lots, what else? Outside rentals, studios, all kind of shit going on. This is, I'm trying to tell you. He said, now, granted, the one thing for the people start getting nervous, one thing you got to realize is he's talking about he gonna be naming folk for his civil lawsuits. People that was just there and really didn't take part or whatever, they may or may not, may be held liable. I don't know if depending on what the charges are or what the allegations are, if there is some type of culpability type of law that can play a part. Like just say in my state, and I know other states, if you are with someone that kills somebody in a commission of a crime, you could be charged with the same thing, right? You're gonna be charged with murder as well. So I don't know if in those particular states, because again, you can use state law as precedent, right? So I don't know if what states they may be saying a lot of this stuff occurred in, and then what would be the law in those states, like if people that just was there, or people that didn't prevent a crime, was that one of the laws in your state or whatever. So it can get tricky, but the the bright spot right now is the fact that he's saying civil. What it can do, as we saw what happened to Diddy, is that civil case turned into pretty much a criminal case. We don't know. So we just gonna have to watch. This is weird. It's not weird, but they trying to get you, honey. Hold on.
You're a pretty smart lawyer, so you can probably work out the wheat from the chaff in terms of legitimate, plausible claims here in terms of victims. I mean, are we talking about names as big as Diddy potentially?
I expect so. I expect so. Obviously those are the names that people are interested in, but I've tried to make sure people focus also on corporate entities, to include banks and hotels and perhaps even pharmaceutical entities that were maybe not directly involved, but were certainly benefiting and profiting from this kind of activity. Those I'm interested in as well. But we've seen all over social media the pictures and video of all the various individuals that attended these parties. And look, I was born at night, but I wasn't born last night. I know that at these types of parties, things go on. I know that there's, sex occurs out in the open and things like that. That's not illegal and that's not probably actionable. What I'm focused on is when people are lured to these parties, coerced at these parties, given illicit drugs at this party without their knowledge, and then they're taken advantage of. And people in the room know this is happening and participate in it and do nothing about it and then tacitly cover it up. Those people, in my mind, are just as liable as the individuals who engage directly in the activity.
And of the 120 cases you've taken on so far, what percentage involve minors? And what is the split of male and female alleged victims?
It's about 25 out of the 120, but as you might imagine, since we did the press conference, that number is growing.
Sorry, 25 minors or?
25 minors out of the 120 clients. Yes, sir. And the minors, they kind of fall into two categories. One would be the category of individuals with stars in their eyes trying to break into the entertainment industry, who were either scouted or somehow found their way to a studio or to a location where they were being screened, and either the allegation is Mr. Combs himself or those around him involved took advantage of these people in some sort of quid pro quo to try to make them a star. And in some of these cases, it was the parents who were essentially handing their child off to a group of people that they trusted and who they thought were going to make their child a star. That's one group. The second group of minors would be individuals who were recruited, whether it be in a hotel lobby, whether it be at a show from the crowd, invited to a after concert party that made its way to a hotel, whether it be to some of the parties that we all heard about. They went there at age 16. There's a few that, for instance, attended a party in the Hamptons and they were only 16 and taken advantage of there. So it pretty runs the gamut. But it's the allegations obviously are very egregious. We have to be very careful and responsible about how we pursue these. These are individual cases, will be filed. Each case will live or die on its own merits. Each case will have one or more defendants. In some cases, they'll all, they may be different. Some will be filed in New York. I would expect most of them will be filed because New York has a statute of limitations that's pretty generous. New York State has recognized that these types of allegations, it takes people a long time to come forward. It takes a lot of courage to come forward. So New York has recognized that. I think California has too. So I would expect most of these cases will be filed in those two states. And we're gonna pursue these cases aggressively. And the reason for the press conference is because, I wanted to make sure that we, Sean Combs obviously has been arrested. He's been indicted. Bail has been denied, I think, 3 times at this point. I don't expect he's going anywhere. We want to make sure that every entity and every individual who had some role in this, that we examine that, and if the law supports it, that we bring them in and make them a part of this case as well.
And just on that second point about the gender split here, there have been lots of rumors that it's not just women or girls who've been involved in being abused here, but also young boys and young men. Can you clarify how many of your own cases are male?
I would say that number is 50-50. According to the client group, it looks like when you try to, if you were to graph it, the number of males increased dramatically after 2015. We've looked at this client group and vetted it in so many different ways, as you would expect, that you can see a trend that the number of males involved increased somewhere around the 2015 timeframe. I don't know why that is, but that's what the numbers show.
And based on the volume of claims you're getting, does that mean that these widespread rumors about Diddy's sexuality are likely to be true?
Yeah, I won't comment on that. I can only comment on the allegations that are being made, that will be made in a public filing. And I'll let people draw their own conclusions, but I will say that 50% of the alleged victims are in fact male. And that includes the minors that were minors at the time of the allegations.
I mean, it's truly shocking, some of these statistics you're giving. In relation to tapes or videos and stuff that you've been told about or has come into your possession, have you seen material, evidential material, which in your estimation as a lawyer could cross the line into criminal activity?
That's a difficult question. As most of your viewers know, the standard of proof in a civil case versus a criminal case is very different. In a criminal case, you have to prove your case beyond a reasonable doubt. That's why the federal authorities, they typically won't bring the case unless it's rock solid. And I'm sure they talked to a lot of people. They collected a lot of evidence. And, from all of that, there's only 3 counts. The civil system is the standard of proof is preponderance of the evidence. Well, I like to describe it when I'm in court as more likely than not. And so when you look at these videos and pictures and bottles of oil that I've received and other things that we've been given, the piece of evidence, the piece of physical evidence or the video by in and of itself doesn't really prove anything. You see a sexual act being performed on video, but you need a witness or the victim to kind of put this in context. You see some sexual act that was captured by a third party on video. You still have to have somebody to say, okay, that individual who was engaged in that, that's who that is, and this individual who was engaged in that was drugged, and so that people are very interested into what do you have on video and what do you have as by way of evidence. And ultimately, in these kinds of cases, it ultimately comes down to he said, she said. That's it every single time, or he said, he said. And so the most important thing is the credibility of the victim. And typically, in these cases, the defense is always the same. When you bring these kinds of allegations against someone, the first defense is always attack the victim, try to destroy the credibility of the victim. And what I'm looking for is to make sure that the victim, that I have the evidence to put the victim in the room with the alleged perpetrator. And then I try to collect witnesses and other data to corroborate what occurred. But ultimately, it comes down to the credibility of the victim and the credibility of the alleged perpetrator. And that's why we hopefully we do a very good job on the front end and make it clear to these people who are calling in that make these allegations that, look, ultimately, you'll have to testify publicly in front of a jury in an open court and tell your story, and you'll be cross-examined, and your name will be known. And that helps me, do the fact checking that we need to do to make sure that we're only bringing those claims that we believe are most credible. And unfortunately, sometimes people with real claims, real legitimate claims, it makes it difficult for them to even pursue these.
Right.
And when you feather in the fact that in many of these cases, the allegation is that the individual was drugged, it makes it even more difficult because this particular drug, this liquid G, they call it, which is basically a date rape drug, it almost wipes your memory. So it's a Herculean task with this many people making these types of claims. But just if they were just one claim, it's difficult enough. So this is a challenge. I think we're on the right side of this, and we're going to pursue these as aggressively as the court system will allow.
And finally, Mr. Busby, how long have you been a lawyer?
Coming up on 30 years.
Have you ever been involved in anything on this scale?
When the BP Horizon explosion occurred and that vessel sank, we had, obviously thousands of clients. I dealt with the Deshaun Watson cases, obviously not of this scope, but, there was a lot of media attention, but certainly nothing like this. I think, I didn't just fall off the turnip truck. I've been around for a while. Even I was very surprised about the scope of this and the amount of people stepping forward who said they were victimized based upon conduct either performed by or orchestrated by Sean Combs.
It's truly shocking. Tony Busby from Houston, thank you very much indeed. I appreciate you joining me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Well, joining me now is the producer, director, and hip-hop documentarian Choke No Joke, the former federal prosecutor Andrew Cherkasky, and the uncensored contributor Esther Krakow. Esther, we've been sitting there. My jaw would have been dropping if I wasn't doing the interview. Your jaw was dropping about what we were hearing there. Some real extraordinary detail about this Houston lawyer's 120 cases. What struck you from what you just heard?
I think the most shocking thing, and you saw my jaw drop when he said there are just as many men that came forward as women, and that actually it looked like the systemic abuse of men started really to ramp up in 2015. And I can't believe it. This is a complete monster, not because of the gender of his victims, but because clearly he had no limits. And I would actually, say that with regards to what his mother said, the statement that she released, she's clearly in denial. Right, because you can't have this wave of sort of people coming forward and this much evidence, even from the Cassie video, and still say that your son is.
Well,
is innocent.
That's interesting.
That's
because,
bizarre.
If I hadn't seen that video, I've always taken the view with all of these things, particularly since the whole Me Too thing blew up. You've got to wait for justice to be carried out. You've got to see due process take place. I think it's so important. But when I saw that video, when I saw what Diddy was actually capable of in plain sight in a hotel corridor with this girl that he was just beating up, that was so shocking that I thought that, wow, this guy, A, he's not the person I met several times, who was very charming and nice. He's somebody very different. And B, he's probably capable of pretty much anything.
Well, we know what made it worse? The apology video afterwards, where he didn't mention Cassie's name once.
No.
He sat there and pontificated about how he
It wasn't an apology, was it? It was more of a, I'm in the shit here, I need to get out of it.
Well, yeah,
right?
and it was just horrendous. And I think his mother is quite clearly in denial. I think on some deep level, she knows that this is a product of a household that she, and I'm assuming his father, ran. I never really think that people who are predators on that level just do it because, somehow they get power and they can get away with it. You really have to have a mentality, a psychology that's imbued in you from a young age. He either grew up in an environment where respecting people, particularly women, was just not a thing, or he was entitled and raised with this idea that actually, if you amass enough power, you can get away with systemically abusing people. And I think we actually need to look at the households that produce a lot of these predators, a lot of these serial rapists and sexual assaulters, than just looking at them as individuals who've decided to go rogue. It's much more systemic than that.
Let me bring in Choke No Joke. Now, you were part of Diddy's entourage at a commercial event a year ago where he was welcomed like a king by fans and industry people. We've got some Ulay of that. This is Diddy as we knew him before the scandal erupted. It was actually just before the video got leaked as well to CNN of him beating up his then girlfriend at the time. Are you as stunned as everybody else, Choke No Joke, about what's happened here to Diddy?
First of all, let me say hello to you, Piers Morgan. I am surprised at a lot of the allegations, but I want to correct you. I wasn't a part of his entourage. I was there independently, documenting as I do. And
I see. Yeah.
I know him from the past. So yeah, I was there to document the revolt.
But you have
which
attended, unless I'm
not-
mistaken, you have attended these freak-off parties at the invitation of Diddy on occasion. And there was one party, you said, where Diddy tried to come on to you and looked at him like he was Beyonce in a bikini, you said. You were invited by Diddy personally, an industry after party. You said there were also women there who were known in industry to be gay and so on. I mean, just when you say you're not shocked,
let me clear that up because you like mashing a bunch of stuff together. All right. One, it wasn't a freak off party. Well, it may have been. I'm not sure because I didn't go inside. But it was and I wasn't invited by him. I was actually with Little Kim and Hillary Weston, who was Little Kim's manager at the time. And we went to the BET Awards, and then we went to an after party. At the after party is when Diddy or Sean Combs invited Kim to meet us at the CEO, Steve Rifkin's house. When we went to Steve Rifkin's house, which would be that after party, I was at that house that's where Diddy came on to me at. And there was a lot of people there, but I was on the outside, the back porch of the house. I never went inside.
Okay.
So whatever went on inside, I didn't get to see.
And when you say
But
Diddy,
he did come on to me.
yeah, I mean, so tell me about that. I mean, what happened?
As far as what?
Him coming on to you.
He just made a pass at me, and I denied it, all with looks, and that was it.
How did you respond?
And that wasn't it. Once I realized that he was hitting on me, and I looked at my environment and realized that most of the people there were gay or bisexual, then I caught on to where we were at, and I went and I grabbed Hillary Weston, and I pulled her outside, and I told her, hey, Diddy's over here hitting on me. Go get Little Kim. We are leaving. And that's what we did.
Because there have been a lot of rumors about Diddy's sexuality. And I think it's only relevant in the sense that the lawyer I just spoke to in Texas says that half of the victims that he's representing are male, which would suggest here that, and they're all connected in some way to Diddy, obviously claims at this stage, but that would certainly suggest that Diddy is at very least bisexual.
I would believe that to be true. From him passing on to me, a straight man don't hit on a straight man. But can I say one thing in regards to your last guest?
Yeah,
that was saying that his mother's in denial. I don't think that's a fair statement for her to say, and I don't like the fact that she said he was raised in the household with a mother and father and blah, 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 because I'm a guy that grew up in the projects. My mother always made sure I did right. My father always made sure I did right. But when I got on outside of the door of the other threshold, the streets told me different. And I did a lot of things that my mother couldn't even fathom today that I did. So when she says that, his mother's in denial, or she may be part of the reason for his behavior, a lot of our behavior comes from being in the street and
hold on. I think you misunderstood
and I don't
what I
think
was
that
saying.
was a fair statement.
I think you misunderstood what I was saying. First of all, of course, individuals are responsible for their own actions, but individuals are not dug up from the ground or hatched from eggs. They're raised in homes. They're raised with values and cultures. I'm not blaming his mother in any way, shape, or form, but any parent whose child is accused of these sorts of crimes will undoubtedly just reflect and think, is there anything that I could have done? That's all I was insinuating. And also, she is in denial because we've all seen that Cassie video. Someone who is capable of treating Cassie like that, dragging her around like a rag doll. I'm sorry, you shouldn't be shocked when allegations of this kind come forward, particularly with the stuff like 1,000 bottles of baby oil in his home. First of all, what is he doing with all of that? And secondly, those poor babies that have been deprived of their moisturizer, right? At some point, if you're looking at it objectively, you cannot be surprised after that Cassie video came out that he is also capable of doing the things that are being alleged against him. That's not to blame his mother. That is to say that if you're looking at this objectively, which of course she won't be able to because it's her son, you have to believe there's an element of denial there. That's not to say that people who grew up in disadvantaged situations
here's the truth.
will always turn out this way.
The truth is we don't know, right? We don't know. I think it's perfectly possible, as Choke just said, that you can be one thing with your parents,
Well, yeah.
but if you then get out on the streets and you get led down various bad places, you could be something which maybe you're the one in denial to your parents. I can absolutely believe that to be but the truth is we don't know. But look, she won't be the first and won't be the last mother to defend the indefensible with her son. Let me bring in Andrew here. You're a former federal prosecutor. We've heard from a civil case lawyer who's got 120 civil actions, and I said to him, has he seen stuff that passes the bar of criminality? It's very hard to say because you need to go through the whole process of building a criminal case. From everything you're seeing about this case, do you think that there is any doubt that P. Diddy is going to end up going to prison for a long time?
There's a mountain of evidence against him, and the federal prosecutors who brought this case, especially in the complex way that they did, are sure to get convictions along the way. I think that their charge sheet is indicative of years and years of evidence that they have deeply investigated at this point that will lead to undoubtedly convictions, and that will lead to a significant amount of jail time. That said, there are going to be battles along the way, both in the criminal realm as well as the civil realm, because the devil is often in the details. So the prosecutors, as well as the civil attorneys, are going to have to prove their case. And in most of the situations, they're going to have to prove it on kind of a day in, day out basis. On this date, this specific thing happened. The general idea that there were orgies that happened, or the general idea that drugs may have been present, or some people did drugs, some people had feelings like if they didn't do this, they wouldn't be able to advance. Some of that stuff is not going to actually raise the charges with sufficient proof to prove either in the criminal realm or the civil realm. They're really going to have to get those criminalized elements, or in the civil case, things that look like criminal actions, the kind of removal of consent, or the pushing through these acts without consent present. And when you see over 100 people in a civil lawsuit, certainly there is concern that people are jumping on a bandwagon. Perhaps they were present and they're just saying that something non-consensual happened in one of those situations. So each of those cases are going to have to be tested. And I think the final point on, especially with Mr. Busby speaking earlier, saying that there are others that might be involved. I think the feds are going to be looking at all of those people involved and kind of giving them an option. Were you a victim? Are you somebody who we can have say something against Diddy? Or is this something where you're part of the conspiracy and we're going to add charges? Similar in the civil case, he's not naming names. Is he trying to reach hush money kind of settlements here? I think that as he's pushing forward the narrative that there were many people involved, we want to hear those names, and we want to be assured that there's not hush money agreements going on, and that he's not simply dangling the idea that he's going to drop these names before he has the opportunity to reach a settlement.
Yeah, I mean, on Fox News, their lawyer Brian Claypool said if Combs doesn't testify in this case, he's dead on arrival. Would you concur with that? Testimony is something that I guess it has only some value to it, because of course he's going to deny it if he were to testify. I think what the case really comes down to is the corroborating evidence. It is difficult when an alleged victim goes in and simply testifies that this happened to me. Any case, whether it's criminal or civil, juries want some sort of corroboration. They want the feeling from the alleged victim that it happened and that it's reliable, but they want to look at that surrounding information. So are there videos that show it, and how can you interpret the different things that are in the video? What does the timeline look like, the text messages, the conversation surrounding the events? So it's all going to come down to corroboration on those individual cases. As I said, the devil's in the details. They're really going to have to prove the nuance of each case. Yeah. I mean, Chuck, you chronicled the hip hop world for a long time. I can't pretend that I'm massively shocked that the hip hop world is full of guys behaving badly and displaying, at the very, very least, rampant misogyny. I mean, their lyrics are full of it. So there's been a kind of brazen celebration of misogyny for a long time in the hip hop world. Is it really shocking that Diddy and potentially other big names in the hip hop world have been, holding out the carrot of record contracts and stuff and using their fame and money to drug and abuse people?
Well, for me, I've been in hip hop for 30 years, even before I was born. I have a documentary out called The Hip Hop Nucleus, a documentary on the tunnel, which is out right now. But that I've been in the club since Diddy was performing at the tunnel. I've been shooting him before he was a millionaire. So I've seen all these guys come from nothing and go to millionaires, to multimillionaires, to billionaires, allegedly, right? But throughout my travels in the industry, once I got to a certain point, like BET, I started to notice a different change in the industry where it was more of gatekeepers and, I had to succumb to homosexuality. There's drugs being passed around. And, I don't do these type of things. My mother's a recovering addict over 30 years, so I would never do drugs. But yes, these things are a part of the culture, and the sexuality is a part of the culture. And if you don't succumb to it, like myself, my career suffered because I didn't succumb to homosexuality or the drugs.
I mean, Esther, it's, like I say, I can't pretend I'm massively shocked. It is shocking to see the scale of it.
Yeah.
But am I shocked that top hip hop stars, were having pretty awful parties where they did pretty awful things? I can't pretend I am.
I mean, I'm a bit shocked at the lack of judgment. So P. Diddy had friends, right? He had accomplices, he had friends, he had acquaintances. Other than sort of the ground staff, the infrastructure that kept his sick operation ticking. He had high profile friends. I'm not going to name them because I don't want to seem libelous, but they were household names. They were celebrities in their own rights. They were artists, they were actresses and all of that. All of whom, in the years that they've been friends with him had at least seen or suspected some sort of character defects, to put it nicely. And they still remain friends with him. They still chose to associate with him. And I draw contrast to 50 Cent, who I hope in my life I never get on the bad side of, because he is a complete bulldog. He's ruthless, right? But 50 Cent and Eminem always made it clear that they never. Together? Sorry?
I said, can I say birds of a feather flock together?
Yeah, well, yes, exactly.
All those people that you are naming about that's around Diddy, been around him, all these people, they all circled and they praised him at his time. Just 1 year ago, Diddy had the #1 album in the country with the Love album. He was celebrated. He got Lifetime Achievement Awards. He got the key to the city. They all celebrated him because they all play in the same cesspool. But now that he's in trouble, the reason why you don't see no support is because they might get pulled in. But Diddy lived a rock star life, no similar to Guns N' Roses and Aerosmith. All these guys had groupies. They all did drugs. They all went on tour. The only difference between R. Kelly and Hugh Hefner is Hugh Hefner made it to the made it to the grave with a smile on his face. All R. Kelly did was try to be Hugh Hefner. So all these people, they all, is black and is white.
Well,
right?
Hugh Hefner, to be clear, Hugh Hefner didn't sleep with minors that we're aware of, and R. Kelly did.
I mean, Hugh Hefner.
Yeah, but there's girls that he popped Quaaludes in their mouth. You ever hear the girl talk about how when she first met Hugh Hefner, first thing he did was made them try drugs? He drugged them?
Yeah, I'm just saying that there was a difference between minors and adults who were, on the face of it, consenting. There's a difference.
Well, the minors have not been proved yet. Those allegations, and trust me, I'm not defending Diddy. I'm just saying, let's not just make it about it's just Diddy and let's not put allegations as facts until we see the facts.
No, listen, I totally believe in due process. There are lots of people spraying all sorts of names out there, making all sorts of wild claims. This scandal is getting bigger every day, and we've got to remain cognizant that a lot of people have their own agendas here, might have their own feuds going on, might have their own scores to settle, and so on. I was going to ask you, Andrew, just from a federal prosecutor point of view, when you get a name as big as Diddy, and there's lots of money flushing around in potential settlements, how wary would you be about people just trying it on, for a cash grab?
Oh, I think that's a big concern that in the exploration to get to the truth, and that's what the prosecutors are going to be trying to do here, is they're getting to the truth in a manner that they can prove beyond a reasonable doubt. There's a lot of evidence that they can use along the way. They can take the dozens and dozens of people that are making these claims, and they can look to see if it fits into the wider scheme. Is that good evidence that they're going to be able to use to bolster their case? And I think one of the big missteps along the way would be if prosecutors or if the civil attorneys put forward cases or allegations that fall flat, something that is proven to be inconsistent, or something that shows that one of these folks was trying to create a buzz about them or trying to go for a money grab, and then that infiltrates and pollutes the rest of the case.
Yeah.
So the prosecutors, the civil attorneys, they've all got to be very careful to bring only truly credible cases of criminal acts, not people with regrettable positions that they were put in, or things where they're looking back on this and trying to reframe it. Truly criminal activities are going to be the focus here, and making sure that those cases are highly reliable.
Well, that was a bit like we saw with Harvey Weinstein, wasn't it? Where there were many, many women who came forward, but they were quite careful, the feds, in the particular cases they took, so that they could almost guarantee conviction. And I think that's what they'll probably be doing here. Is, I'd like you say, if you overdo it and you have too many cases you put forward, and some of them are suspect and collapse, you can have a very domino effect on everything. So they'll be very cautious, I'm sure. Just on something else there, Andrew, new court documents revealed today show that Sean Combs' lawyers have apparently made a third attempt for him to get bond. Now, one of the attempts involved $50 million, which in itself said to me, this is a very serious case against him, because for them to reject a $50 million bond was pretty unprecedented. The fact they keep trying to get it and keep having it rejected, what does that tell you?
Well, it tells me that the judge sees this as serious as the prosecutors do. I mean, these are crimes that are so serious that it would likely leave Sean Combs in jail the rest of his life, or nearly for the rest of his life. So the idea that if he were released, is he going to show up to his hearings on time, and is he going to not commit further criminal activity? The judge is saying that he can't be assured of that. I think some of us are surprised that Sean Combs actually remained while the investigation was going on. After his house was raided, he didn't make the kind of grand flee effort to go to some sort of non-extradition type country. So I don't know where he'd go. He doesn't have a great kind of escape option, but these charges are so serious that I think that you can put this in kind of the life sentence category, and it's really difficult for a judge to justify letting somebody out when charges are this serious and this grave.
I completely disagree. I think he has an out option, and that is popping a cyanide pill. That's the first thing P. Diddy is going to do if he gets bail. He will. He
hasn't done it yet. What? I mean, he knew it was out there. He knew that the feds were locked in on him. If he was going to take the cyanide pill, or if he was going to flee the country, he would have done it.
I don't know. I think
Can
he's
I
so
say something
arrogant.
real quick?
Let me bring in Chuck, because you know Diddy.
Can I say something, please?
Yeah.
Can I please say something, please? Ma'am, I don't know who you are, right? But I would like for you to consider that this is a man that has 4 children, right? There's more than 4 children.
7.
But he has 4 children. He has 4 children that don't have a mother. He has 4 children that don't have a father on the outside, right? Along with the other children. So as a black man, right? I don't care how detrimental your life is, right? He's not killing himself, and he's not fleeing the country with his children out here. Like, please,
I'm sorry, I find
have
that
some
very hard to
compassion
believe.
for
This
the like.
That's. I'm sorry. This is a man who's facing sexual
If
trafficking
he wanted to kill himself,
allegations.
People might have said the same thing.
If he wanted to kill himself, he would have been dead already.
But Chuck, I mean, you might have said the same thing about Jeffrey Epstein.
Exactly.
Yeah, many of his friends would have said he'll never kill himself, but he did.
He
allegedly
who's
did.
Who's to say that he killed himself?
Well, obviously,
I don't believe he killed
I know
himself.
the conspiracy theories. We don't know. It is believed he killed himself, but we don't know. Look,
and ironically, Piers, the cameras wasn't working when he hung himself.
I agree
right?
that there is a lot of stuff going on there, which is very.
I just think it's a bit too late for P Diddy to try and start playing good daddy after the kinds of things he's being alleged or accused of committing, including
I'm not saying
abusing
be good
Cassie,
daddy,
which we have on film.
Ma'am, I'm not saying be good daddy. And his mother didn't deny or dispel anything about the Cassie video. She actually condemned him in that, but Piers didn't read that part. But what I'm saying to you is the man ain't killing himself and he's not playing good daddy. It's just the fact that you love your children, good, bad, or indifferent. And I'm sure his children are very, very disappointed in their father, but at the end of the day, they don't want to see him dead.
Of course not. But that's not what I'm saying they want to happen. I'm saying that this has got so bad and so out of control that I don't think it's inconceivable that he will choose to end his life. If he
Well,
goes
you didn't wait for the best part yet. The best part didn't happen yet. The best part is
where he's sentenced to life.
Allegedly, he's going to be indicted for the murder of Tupac and the Notorious B.I.G. I think that's what's coming down the pipeline. This stuff right here is serious, but I believe that he's going to be indicted for the alleged murder for hire of Tupac Shakur.
Can I ask you, Chuck,
well
is that based on information that you know, that you've been told?
That's information on all the evidence that's out there.
Right, but have you? I mean, do you believe that evidence is correct? Do you think there's enough evidence that says that he was involved?
I believe from all the evidence that's been out there, all the people that talked on YouTube, that the quad hit, Diddy was there with Jimmy Henchman, right? Jimmy Henchman had a problem with Tupac. This is why Tupac got shot at Quad Studios. To make a long story short, at the end of it, you have a guy named Gene Dale that works for Diddy that says that he saw a check that a guy named Eric Von Zip had, and he told him that the check was for the murder of Tupac Shakur. Now, there's a YouTuber by the name of Doggy Diamonds. Gene Dale tells Doggy Diamonds, yo, you saw the check for Biggie's life? And he corrects me, said, no, I saw the check for Pac's life. Eric Von Zip had a check in his right back pocket, and he said it came from Black Ground Records, right? Well, Jimmy Henchman was working with Black Ground Records. So if you tie the Tupac shooting at Quad Studio and you go all the way to the end of it, if there was a check, allegedly, if this was true and Diddy did pay for the hit on Tupac and Suge Knight, and that check came from Black Ground Records, it leads right back to the Quad Studios shooting where when Tupac got shot, Diddy was in the studio with Jimmy Henchman. But they don't tell that story. They make it look like Diddy was in the studio with Biggie. No, Biggie had went behind Diddy's back and got a deal with Atlantic Records and was having a secret meeting, having a secret recording session for the first Junior Mafia album. They was recording their first song. Diddy found out that Biggie was having a session. He came to Quad. He was getting ready to bust in on Biggie, but the shooting with Tupac deferred the plan. But Diddy was going to bust in on Biggie find out that he had a whole nother deal. He was in there recording. So to make a long story short, Diddy and or Sean Combs and Notorious Big Christopher Wallace had a publishing deal together. With that publishing deal, Notorious B.I.G. is to write songs and Diddy gets a portion of the money. What Biggie did, which was wrong, is he went and wrote all the stuff for Lil' Kim and Junior Mafia and lied to Diddy and told him that they wrote their own stuff. So back the day before Biggie died, Gene Dale tells the story of how he was smoking weed with Biggie, and he was security. He was not supposed to be smoking. Biggie told Diddy that we need more security because Gene was high. So Gene, in return, tells Diddy, hey, man, Biggie He wrote all the Lil' Kim stuff and Junior Mafia. Big and Diddy jumps in Biggie face. Say it. Say it. You wrote it. Say it. Say it. And Big is like, oh man, come on, Diddy. Come on, Diddy. Right? The next day, Biggie was dead.
Well, that is what they call a dropped intro bombshell. Look, there are lots of rumors to that effect. I haven't heard it spelled out in quite the detail you just did. Absolutely fascinating. All I would say about any of it is I don't know what happened and whether he was involved in the shootings of Tupac or indeed Biggie. What I do know is that when I watched that video of him beating up his girlfriend in a hotel corridor, I thought this guy is capable of a lot of very, very nasty violence against people. And so nothing...
I mean, we seen him beat Steve Stout up.
Yeah.
We seen him beat the dude at USC with the kettlebell.
Yeah.
It's no secret that he's violent.
No. I'm just saying. And if somebody's that violent, they're capable of pretty much anything. I've got to leave it there. Fascinating debate. Thank you all very much indeed.
Him saying, yo, you got
my mouth is still open. And I want some words to come out of it. Because a lot of times when I just run across these things, at the most, I may have gotten like 1 or 2 minutes in. I didn't even get that far in on this video. So I'm watching it along with you guys. And because I know Choke is sub to me, Choke have been in my chat, but still, I gotta be me. Like, Lord have mercy, what is going on? Everybody's just saying everything. Like, what? We don't know if they can tie the murder of Tupac or Biggie to Puff, to anyone. I see it like this. Puffy and Suge Knight was probably the suspects that would have looked the best, right? So they would have probably exhausted an investigation to connect those, those two to the murders of some of the, the biggest stars rap have ever seen, right? So, I swear, I hate misinformation. I definitely hate conspiracy theories. And I hate just intentional lies. I hate unintentional lies as well, but y'all know what I mean when I say intentional lies. And everybody, I'm trying to tell you, everybody is on this interview, visibility, clout thing, whatever. See, this is what happens, right? The more outrageous and notorious that they can be on these interviews and things of that nature, they start getting invites to do more and more interviews. What happens when they get more and more interviews? That's more visibility. That way they can leverage whatever they got going on. They make more money, get the merch going, get, popping platforms, and so on and so forth. The bail hearing, girl, what's going on? Hey, Queenie, girl, we need some nerve pills. What's going on in the brief? What were they saying? I ain't read it. Right. But I ain't read it. I'm gonna attach it up here. I was gonna read a portion of it. What is sad, girl? It says something good or bad? Lord have mercy. This is too much. So, where we are. There's a lot going on. I should have married that man. Be somewhere with some of y'all eating spotted dick, Yorkshire pudding, and some kind of meat pies, honey. Beef and mashed potatoes. Dressed up in a whole bunch of fascinator hats, drinking tea, eating omelets. You think so? Well, let's take a look. I want to, can I pull this up, put the read on it? Oh, let me see if I can put the read on it. Oh, I'm being lazy. Yeah. Oh, baby.
United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit, Thurgood Marshall, U.S. Courthouse 40, Foley Square, New York, New York, 10007. Telephone, 212-857-8500. Motion information statement, docket number, as caption use short title motion 4. Set
forth below precise, complete statement of relief sought. Moving party, opposing party, plaintiff defendant appellant / petitioner appellee / respondent moving attorney, opposing attorney, name of attorney, with firm, address, phone number and email. Court judge / agency appealed from, please check appropriate.
Yep, I found the reader.
United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit, Thurgood Marshall, U.S. Courthouse 40, Foley Square, New York, New York, 10007. Telephone, 212-857-8500. Motion information statement, docket number, as caption used short title motion 4. Set forth below precise, complete statement of relief sought. Moving party, opposing party, plaintiff defendant appellant / petitioner appellee / respondent moving attorney, opposing attorney, name of attorney, with firm, address, phone number and email. Court judge/agency appealed from. Please check appropriate boxes. For emergency motions, motions for stays and injunctions pending appeal, has movement notified opposing counsel, required by local rule 27.1 yes no. Explain has these requests for relief been made below? Has these relief been previously sought in this court? Yes no yes no. Opposing counsel's position on motion, unopposed opposed don't know. Does opposing counsel intend to file a response? Yes _ no don't know. Requested return date and explanation of emergency. Is the oral argument on motion requested? Yes no. Requests for oral argument will not necessarily be granted. Has the appeal argument date been set? Yes no. If yes, enter date. Signature of moving attorney, date, service, electronic other attached proof of service. Form T-1080, Rev 10 to 23. 24 to 2606 pretrial release. Sean Combs requests that this court order his release on appropriate bail conditions, and order his immediate release pending disposition of this appeal under Federal Rule of Appellate Procedure 9A.3. Sean Combs, United States of America. Alexandra A. Shapiro. Shapiro Arado Bach LLP 1140, 6th Avenue 17th FL, New York, New York, 100362122574880. A Shapiro at ShapiroArado.com. United States Attorney's Office, SDNY. Mary Christine Slavic. 212-637-1113. Mary.Slavic at USDOJ.gov. Honorable Andrew L. Carter / U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York. October 8, 2024. United States of America v. Combs.
Hold on, let me see if it's
26
gonna let me
Federal
advance.
Plaza, New
This is
York, New
crazy.
York,
Hold on.
10278. /S/Alexandra A.
Stop, stop, stop. Let me see. I thought I tested it and I thought it could start. I don't have to start at the beginning.
United States Court of Appeals for the
Oh,
Second
no.
Circuit, Thurgood Marshall,
Uh-uh.
U.S. Courthouse 40, Foley Square.
Never mind. Okay. So let's see. This bail package, right? Right here. It says in the bail proceeding, it says the government proffer focused on an 8.5-year-old domestic violence incident and vague allegations related to civil lawsuits. Okay, so that's a pretty good recognition, right? And then it says the defense rebutted each of the government's arguments. Says Mr. Combs proposed a robust bail package with extremely restrictive conditions, which is what I told y'all several times. Like, my goodness, you understand what I'm saying? He all but said, if I have to go to the restroom in the middle of the night, I'm gonna call y'all to let you know I gotta go to the restroom. And if they see any motion of me moving around, I'm just going to the restroom. And then it says, let's see. The arguments are the district court erroneously concluded that Mr. Combs presented a risk of obstructing justice and witness tampering. Okay, well, that's a good argument because you can always take the position that just because someone is have an allegation of obstruction, it doesn't mean that they will obstruct the case in all ways, or just because someone obstructed the case earlier, that doesn't mean that they will obstruct it now. Understanding, what they could face and things of that nature. So there's an argument that you can build for that. And it doesn't mean that the defendant is going to witness tamper. All right. And then it says the the district court erroneously concluded no conditions of release could suffice. Right. Which is another, oh, she's pretty good. I like her. Which is another good argument because if the prosecutor now, and I do remember in their the bail defense that the prosecutors gave, for keeping them in without any bail, that nothing would work, right? They didn't trust any offer that the defense put up. And apparently the defense is saying that's unreasonable, right? They can point to the fact that convicts are controlled by parole and probation conditions every day, and they successfully complete those. So that's just, an idea what they can argue. And it says that the district court erroneously failed to make factual findings and weigh the required 18 U.S.C. section 3142G factors. So I don't know what the factors are. So you have to look that up. We'll do that real quick. Okay, the Bail Reform Act's statutorily mandated procedures represent Congress careful delineation of the circumstances under which pretrial detention is acceptable. There's a case law that says failure to follow these procedures or reliance on an extra statutory inquiry constitutes an error of law. Oh, Shakur 817F second at 200-187. The district court committed legal error by failing to make any factual finding or weigh the required factors. Okay, and they said the act unambiguously requires written findings of fact and written statement of reasons for a decision to detain. Okay. This is elaborate. This is laid out well, and I haven't even. I'm still in the table contents, honey. What else I can pick out from here? Queen, you done read all of this? Says bail may be denied only in rare case of extreme and unusual circumstances. Right. The only problem is with that is that, with his charges, it's a presumption case and it's a RICO and all of that, and they consider him to be a danger. That are the those are the reasons why bail can be denied, right? This case does not involve extreme and unusual circumstances, but none. Wait a minute. This case does involve, I'm sorry, extreme and unusual circumstances, but none that typically foreclose bail or warrant forcing Sean Combs to defend himself from a prison cell. What is extreme and unusual about this case is that Mr. Combs was detained immediately after he was charged, even though he has been in the spotlight his entire life, with many of his purported antics and episodes being widely reported in the press and known to the law enforcement authorities. Indeed, hardly a risk of flight. He's a 54-year-old father of 7. Hold on. Oh, I lost my. What is it? Oh, this is played out on live. Yeah. Most of it in transcripts and case and stuff. Oh, she did. Oh, okay. And a U.S. citizen, an extraordinarily successful artist, businessman, and philanthropist, and one of the most recognized people on earth. The sensationalism surrounding his arrest has distorted the bail analysis. Mr. Combs was not released pending trial, even though he offered to comply with restrictive conditions that would have prevented any conceivable risk of flight or danger. Yeah, so that's a good argument. Like, he's offering up all of his methods to to flight, you know. Okay, let's see what it says here. It says Mr. Combs is presumed innocent. He traveled to New York to surrender because he knew he was going to be indicted. He took extraordinary steps to demonstrate that he intended to face and contest the charges, not flee. He presented a bail package that would plainly stop him from posing a danger to anyone or contacting any witnesses. Under the Bail Reform Act, liberty is the norm, and detention prior to trial or without trial is the carefully limited exception. Oh, it's case law. Okay, to support that. Issues presented: whether the district court's obstruction and witness tampering conclusion lacked a factual basis and misapplied the law. Oh, okay. 2, whether the district court erred in concluding no condition would reasonably assure the safety of other person and the community. Okay. Whether the district court erroneously failed to make the factual findings required by the Bail Reform Act and weighed the required statutory factors. These codes proposed April 5th. Well, it's not like they have this stimulation. At this point, you're hoping that he got some kind of drinking problem or something. This is crazy. The district court's ruling. We know what that was. Okay, they say so. She's saying that the standard of review, rulers of law in bail proceedings are reviewed de novo. So remember when we was doing the Kale's appeals review, and I told you guys over and over and over what de novo means just like it was brand new. They're looking, so they're saying that the review for this bail should be based, on what the justices believe. Nothing about what the lower court had done with regards to the bail. Okay. Now, we don't know if that's the truth, but she has some type of case law to support it. Now, she said, while historical facts are reviewed for clear error, which is going to give the lower court some deference, right? It said the scope of the review is slightly broader with respect to the ultimate determination that a defendant does or does not present a risk of flight or danger, while whether conditions will reasonably assure the defendant's appearance and satisfy the community is a mixed question of law and fact review for clear error. This is crazy. The argument says the district court erroneously presented a risk of obstructing. The court has held that clear and convincing evidence that there exists a serious risk of obstruction or witness tampering can justify pretrial detention. But there was no clear and convincing evidence supporting detention here. The circumstances justifying detention in prior cases were completely different, and the court's contrary conclusion reflects a misperception of the applicable law. I told you so. What I said, it's a misperception. You can't say that he's going to what is tamper with witnesses and obstruct, all of that in this situation right now, in this instant case. You can't say that. Okay. Let me see. I'm gonna sleep as hell. Says the district court erroneously concluded no conditions of release could suffice. Pretrial detention is permissible only if the district court finds that no condition or combination of conditions will reasonably assure the appearance of the person as required and the safety of any other person and the community. So they're saying that, the prosecutor spoke in absolute. like there's no workaround. There's no kind of conditions that would work, that would assure that he would show back up to court. He would do what he's supposed to do, right, while he's out. I like that. I like her. It says the district court wrongfully failed to make factual findings and waived the required 18 U.S.C. factors, and it was at the bail. So I went over that a little bit. Well, rather, I mentioned it. What is this? It's the unassigned counsel of record, blah, blah, blah. What is this? Oh, okay. So these are just exhibits, pretty much. I'll read it. What you talking about? The girl, I'm sleepy as hell. Talking about the that's this is the what we already have from September. What you talking about? Yeah, I told you these are exhibits. What is this a transcript of? Hold on, what was this? That was September 17th. Oh. Yeah, it's just it seemed like she laid it out in a way that it asks new questions, right? And that's what you want to do. You want to craft an argument that asks new questions, and maybe also elaborate on the old ones with regards to him getting out on bail. Oh, have mercy. This is crazy. So goddamn sleep. I don't know what to do. Home going on. I wonder why that reader won't let me start it from. Seven through 16. Ooh, they talking about male ex. He recorded another girlfriend. Oh, damn. Oh. Let me see.
United States Court of Appeals for the
All
Second
right, still
Circuit
start
Thurgood Marshall,
over.
U.S. Courthouse 40, Foley Square, New York, New York. 1. United States.
Oh, wait a minute. I think it's how to do it.
Table of Contents, Table of.
Oh, this is how to do it. This is how to do it. That's how I did it last night.
1. Introduction. Bail may be denied only in a rare case of extreme and unusual circumstances. United States v. Barrios, 791 F.2d 246, 251, 2 DCIR. 1986. This case does involve extreme and unusual circumstances, but none that typically foreclose bail or warrant forcing Sean Combs to defend himself from a prison cell. What is extreme and unusual about this case is that Mr. Combs was detained immediately after he was charged, even though he has been in the spotlight his entire life, with many of his purported antics and episodes being widely reported in the press and known to law enforcement authorities. Indeed, hardly a risk of flight, he is a 54-year-old father of 7, a U.S. citizen, an extraordinarily successful artist, businessman, and philanthropist, and one of the most recognizable people on earth. The sensationalism surrounding his arrest has distorted the bail analysis. Mr. Combs was not released pending trial, even though he offered to comply with restrictive conditions that would have prevented any conceivable risk of flight or danger. The district court detained Mr. Combs in a conclusory, bare-bones oral ruling, apparently because of unspecified concerns that he would obstruct justice and intimidate witnesses. The government's arguments about the risk of obstruction were based on speculation, resting mainly on untested allegations about communications with witnesses in civil cases and communications initiated by 7 of 270, page 7 of 270 case, 24 to 2606, October 8, 2024, DKT entry, 16.1, page 7 of 31. 2. Supposed witnesses and not Mr. Combs. The government even claimed his public denial of a former girlfriend's allegations in a civil lawsuit constituted attempts to obstruct justice. If denying accusations by civil plaintiffs could justify pretrial detention, the liberty protections of the Bail Reform Act and the Constitution, not to mention the First Amendment, would be meaningless. Throughout the bail proceedings below, Mr. Combs rebutted the government's proffers. But without fact-finding or analysis, the district court endorsed the government's exaggerated rhetoric and ordered Mr. Combs detained. In so doing, the court committed legal error, rejected a plainly sufficient bail package, and violated its obligations under the Bail Reform Act. Mr. Combs is presumed innocent. He traveled to New York to surrender because he knew he was going to be indicted. He took extraordinary steps to demonstrate that he intended to face and contest the charges, not flee. He presented a bail package that would plainly stop him from posing a danger to anyone or contacting any witnesses. Under the Bail Reform Act, liberty is the norm, and detention prior to trial or without trial is the carefully limited exception. United States v. Salerno, 481 U.S. 739, 755, 1987. Mr. Combs is entitled to release under Federal Rule of Appellate Procedure 9 and 18 U.S.C. 3142 and 3145 and immediate release pending disposition of this appeal under Federal Rule of Appellate Procedure 9, A, 3. 8 of 270, page 8 of 270 case, 24 to 2606, October 8, 2024, DKT entry, 16.1, page 8 of 31. 3. Issues presented. 1. Whether the district court's obstruction and witness tampering conclusion lacked a factual basis and misapplied the law. 2. Whether the district court erred in concluding no conditions would reasonably assure the safety of any other person in the community. 3. Whether the district court erroneously failed to make the factual findings required by the Bail Reform Act and weigh the required statutory factors. Background. Mr. Combs' actions during the investigation demonstrate that he poses no conceivable risk of flight. Long before his indictment, Mr. Combs took numerous steps demonstrating his trustworthiness and commitment to proving his innocence in this case. Since early 2024, he understood he was the target of a serious federal investigation. Nonetheless, he immediately directed his counsel to proactively reach out to prosecutors. He subsequently took extraordinary steps to voluntarily surrender and try to satisfy any possible government concerns about flight risk. Months before the indictment, on March 13, 2024, Mr. Combs's counsel emailed the assigned AUSAs to introduce himself and asked to speak with the prosecutors so he could provide information about the case. A 94. He renewed that request 5 days later. ID. The government never responded. 9 of 270, page 9 of 270 case, 24 to 2606, October 8, 2024, DKT entry, 16.1, page 9 of 31. 4. On March 25, 2024, the government executed search warrants at Mr. Combs' residence.
I don't have to go through all of that shit. I had to figure out. I need to get a reader that I guess doesn't come with the system one that I could pay for. Cause I don't know what you talking about. Because, I mean, all of it is really pertinent information, so. Hold on.
Standards of review. Rulings of law and bail proceedings are reviewed de novo. United States v. English, 629 F.3d 311, 319, 2d Sir 2011, while historical facts are reviewed for clear error. United States v. LaFontaine, 210 F3d 125, 130, 2d Sir 2000. The scope of review is slightly broader with respect to the ultimate determination that a defendant does, or does not, present a risk of flight or danger. United States v. Ferranti, 66 F.3d 540, 542, 2d Sir 1995. Whether conditions will reasonably assure the defendant's appearance and the safety of the community is a mixed question of law and fact reviewed for clear error. ID. The clearly erroneous standard does not apply if the court has made an error of law, in which case the court's findings should be set aside. United States v. Shakur, 817 F.2d 189, 196-97, 2d Sir 1987. If, for example, the court does not consider the factors set forth in 18 U.S.C. 3142, g, in reaching its ultimate finding on the existence or non-existence of conditions, the finding will be subject to more flexible review. ID at 197. The court's finding will also be subject to plenary review if it rests on a predicate finding which reflects a misperception of a legal rule applicable to the particular factor involved. ID 19 of 270, page 19 of 270 case, 24 to 2606, October 8, 2024, DKT entry, 16.1, page 19 of 31. 14. Argument I. The district court erroneously concluded that Mr. Combs presented a risk of obstructing justice and witness tampering. This court has held that clear and convincing evidence that there exists a serious risk of obstruction or witness tampering can justify pretrial detention. United States v. Leon, 766 F.2d 77, 82, 2d Sir 1985, La Fontaine, 210 F.3d at 132. But there was no clear and convincing evidence supporting detention here. The circumstances justifying detention in prior cases were completely different, and the court's contrary conclusion reflects a misperception of the applicable law. Shakur, 817 F.2d at 197. First, the government's proffer concerning alleged obstruction and witness tampering was too thin to support detention. The proffer highlighted 2 points: the March 5, 2016 video and Mr. Combs' alleged contacts with witnesses. Regarding the 8.5-year-old video, the defense's robust competing proffer explained Mr. Combs' decade-long consensual relationship with victim 1, the videos context, and that both parties had subsequently participated in drug rehabilitation. And the witness contacts the government cited were minimally relevant or entirely innocuous. For example, the government emphasized that Mr. Combs had contacted witnesses. But these contacts were largely related to civil suits filed before the indictment, and most occurred before Mr. Combs even knew there was. 20 of 270, page 20 of 270 case, 24 to 2606, October 8, 2024, DKT entry, 16.1, page 20 of 31. 15. An investigation. These communications, the substance of which the government did not fully disclose, hardly reflect threats, obstruction, or witness tampering. Even with respect to 2 grand jury witnesses the government claims Mr. Combs contacted, the government could only vaguely represent that there were 14 total contacts between Mr. Combs and 1 witness, and that another witness was contacted multiple times. A189. That was it. The government provided no further detail. Nor did the government share how these witnesses even perceived the contacts. The government's silence on this point is telling because the proffer was implausible on its face. While the government suggested witnesses have universally, 1 for 1, expressed to prosecutors their extreme fear of Mr. Combs, extreme, A187, at least one of these witnesses proactively reached out to Mr. Combs to tell him she was a grand jury witness, A211. And once defense counsel learned Mr. Combs was contacted by a potential grand jury witness, they immediately instructed him to cease any such contact, which he did. ID. Clear and convincing evidence requires that the evidence support the conclusion with a high degree of certainty. United States v. Kaimuranga, 760 F.2d 400, 405, 2d Sir 1985. The government did not meet this burden. The proffer provided no basis to believe Mr. Combs had threatened, intimidated, or otherwise attempted to tamper with witnesses and fell far short of demonstrating a serious risk of obstruction or witness tampering in the future. Leon, 766 F.2d ed. 21 of 270, page 21 of 270 case, 24 to 2606, October 8, 2024, DKT entry, 16.1, page 21 of 31. 16. 82 In any case, the defense's competing proffer adequately rebutted the government's allegations and at a minimum left the evidence in equipoise. Second, the court misapplied precedent. The cases the government relied upon are far afield. In Leon, for example, there was ample proof that the defendant Hadi threatened 2 potential witnesses, including through explicit threats to his arresting officers that he would get even and see to it they went on a very long vacation. ID at 78 to 79. The findings of threats rest on strong evidence in the record, including witness testimony at the bail hearing. ID at 81. And LaFontaine was a bail revocation decision under 18 U.S.C. 3148, so a much lower burden of proof probable cause applied. 210 F.3d at 133 to 34. Even still, LaFontaine rested on actual evidence that while on bail, the defendant shredded documents, attempted to contact and intimidate witnesses, and lied in an affidavit to the court. ID at 129. The non-binding decision in United States v. Bankman-Fried, No. 23-6914 CR, 2D Sir September 21, 2023, likewise involved a bail revocation proceeding under the lower probable cause standard. In cases where the government's proffer is as thin as the one here, the risk of witness tampering or obstruction is not supported by clear and convincing evidence. United States v. Stein, 05 CR 0888, LAC, 2005 WL 815-7371, at *2, SDNY November 14, 2005. Although the district court never explained its 22 of 270, page 22 of 270 case, 24 to 2606, October 8, 2024, DKT entry, 16.1, page 22 of 31. 17. Reasoning, see infra point 3. It appears to have erroneously adopted the government's exaggerated rhetoric. There was no factual or legal basis for detaining Mr. Combs. He is entitled to pretrial release. 2. The district court erroneously concluded no conditions of release could suffice. Pretrial detention is permissible only if the district court finds that no condition or combination of conditions will reasonably assure the appearance of the person as required and the safety of any other person in the community. 18 U.S.C. 3142, E1. The court has an obligation to consider all possible alternatives to preventive detention. Barrios 791 F.2d at 251. Where, as here, the court's ultimate finding rests on a predicate finding which reflects a misperception of a legal rule, the court's decision is subject to plenary review. ID, citing Shakur, 817 F.2d at 197. The court erroneously rejected Mr. Combs' proposed bail package, which was plainly sufficient. The government claimed the proposed conditions do not speak at all to Mr. Combs' risk of obstruction, as they still contemplate him having staff and visitors. A112. But counsel adequately addressed these concerns at the bail hearing by proposing additional conditions. These more restrictive conditions prohibited internet and phone access and included 24/7.
Oh, wow.
23 of 270, page 23 of 270 case, 24 to 2606, October 8, 2024, DKT entry, 16.1, page 23 of 31. 18. Monitoring by well-trained third-party security personnel and video monitoring if necessary. The proposed conditions reasonably mitigate any perceived risk. The Bail Reform Act expressly contemplates releasing a defendant into the custody of a designated person who agrees to assume supervision, if the designated person is able reasonably to assure the judicial officer that the person will appear as required and will not pose a danger to the safety of any other person or the community. 18 U.S.C. 3142, c. 1, b, I. There is no reason 24/7 monitoring by trained third-party former state and federal law enforcement officers could not prevent obstruction, particularly where the defendant will not have electronic devices and thus could not directly contact any witnesses. Courts have found similar proposals sufficient to ensure against obstruction, flight risk, and danger in past cases. See United States v. Williams, No. 07 CR 1102, JSR, 2008 WL. 686,622, at *1, SDNY March 12, 2008, concluding proposed conditions. reasonably mitigated danger to community and risk of witness tampering because if a defendant is strictly confined to an apartment with electronic monitoring, there is no meaningful likelihood he will engage in any conduct constituting a danger. United States v. Sabaitnani, 493 F.3d 63, 77, 2d Sir 2007, describing a comparable package as extraordinary and vacating and remanding. 24 of 270, page 24 of 270 case, 24 to 2606, October 8, 2024, DKT entry, 16.1, page 24 of 31. 19. For release on stated conditions, United States v. Driver, 596 F sub 2D 831, 833, SDNY 2009, approving similar bail package. The district court rejected the proposed bail package for purely speculative reasons. The court stated the proposed conditions would permit Mr. Combs to obstruct justice and intimidate witnesses through employees and other individuals and even coded messages if necessary. A226. There was, however, not a shred of evidence that Mr. Combs had used third parties to tamper with witnesses through coded messages. Nor did the government cite any evidence supporting its bald claim that Mr. Combs used intermediaries to reach out to people. A190. Instead, their proffered example involved a direct contact, one that occurred in November 2023, when the only pending proceeding was a civil suit. The government alleged that after victim 1 filed her lawsuit, another alleged victim, also a girlfriend, initiated contact by texting Mr. Combs, who subsequently called her and recorded their conversations on another person's phone. ID. This didn't involve an intermediary and is hardly evidence of obstruction. Even apart from the fact that Mr. Combs could not have contemplated any particular official proceeding at the time. Why would a 1 Arthur Anderson v. United States, 544 U.S. 696, 707, 2005, 18 U.S.C. 1512 requires nexus between the obstructive act and the proceeding. See also United States v. Aguilar, 515 U.S. 593, 599 to 600, 1995, 18 U.S.C. 1503 requires knowledge that one's actions will affect pending grand jury proceeding. 25 of 270, page 25 of 270 case, 24 to 2606, October 8, 2024, DKT entry, 16.1, page 25 of 31. 20. Person engaged in witness tampering record the conversation. He was obviously recording the exchange to protect himself from further false accusations. Regardless, as a practical matter, the conditions are sufficient to alleviate any purported obstruction risk. The proposed package contemplated a pre-approved visitor list, and counsel made clear it could be further limited in any way the court saw fit. See A204, A206, A224. The only necessary visitors are members of the defense team, who obviously will not be assisting any effort to obstruct justice. To the extent family members are approved for the visitor list, security and video monitoring is sufficient to ensure against the purported risk of any attempt to indirectly contact a witness. The same would be true if employee visits were contemplated, but to be clear, there is no need for concern about employees and friends and the like. A216. Mr. Combs will not request that any employee or friend be permitted to visit him, nor would it be necessary for him to speak with employees. A214. 3. For such conditions to be adequate, the Act requires only a reasonable assurance and does not demand absolute certainty. United States v. Alston, 420. 2. Since there was no history of coded messages, there is zero risk of Mr. Combs using such code under monitoring. How would any visitor even know how to interpret the supposed code? Using a code requires a prior understanding of the meaning of any coded terms. 3. Mr. Combs would also consent to home detention within the district, if housing can be arranged. 26 of 270, page 26 of 270 case, 24 to 2606, October 8, 2024, DKT entry, 16.1, page 26 of 31. 21. F.2D 176, 178, DC Sir 1969. To require the latter and deny release on conditions based on speculative doubts would only be a disguised way of compelling commitment. ID. Indeed, this court has already rejected the theory that certain conduct is so extreme and aberrant, such that no set of conditions could reasonably assure the safety of the community. United States v. Mattis, 963 F.3D 285, 293, 2D Sir 2020. Here, the conditions proposed were adequate relative to the weight of the purported risks. Point 4 Mr. Combs should be released because, regardless of the government's untested allegations, the proposed conditions will reasonably assure his appearance and the safety of the community. 3. The district court erroneously failed to make factual findings and weigh the required 18 U.S.C. 3142 G factors. The Bail Reform Act's statutorily mandated procedures represent Congress's careful delineation of the circumstances under which pretrial detention is acceptable. Salerno, 481 U.S. at 751. Failure to follow these procedures, or reliance on an extra statutory inquiry, constitutes an error of law. Shakur, 817 F.2D at 200, 197. The district court committed legal error by failing to make any factual findings or weigh the required factors. 4. The district court's reasoning did not turn on 3142 E3's presumption of detention, CA 225, which the defense rebutted for the reasons discussed. 27 of 270, page 27 of 270 case, 24 to 2606, October 8, 2024, DKT entry, 16.1, page 27 of 31. 22. The Act unambiguously requires written findings of fact and a written statement of reasons for a decision to detain. 18 U.S.C. 3142, I.1. This requirement is specifically designed to further the accuracy of detention hearings, Salerno, 481 U.S. at 752, and is intended to ensure that the district court's reasons for its decision are sufficiently clear to permit meaningful appellate review, English, 629 F.3D at 321. The Act further states courts shall take into account 4 factors in determining whether there are conditions of release that will reasonably assure the appearance of the person as required and the safety of any other person in the community. 18 U.S.C. 3142, G. The factors include the nature and circumstances of the charges, the weight of the evidence, the defendant's history and characteristics, and the nature and seriousness of any danger to the community. ID 3142, G. 1-4. These factors ensure the Act is administered consistent with due process. Salerno, 481 U.S. at 751. Thus, the district court must consider the 18 U.S.C. 3142, G, factors, Mattis, 963 F.3D at 291, as the ultimate finding. Properly can be reached only after their consideration. Shakur, 817 F.2D at 196. In the cases the government relied on below, the detention orders were supported by detailed factual findings and explicit weighing of the 3142 G factors. See example United States v. Maxwell, 20 CR 330, AJN, SDNY, ECF 93 at 79 to 91, United States v. Maxwell, 527 F sub 3D 659, SDNY 2021, aft. 28 of 270, page 28 of 270 case, 24 to 2606, October 8, 2024, DKT entry, 16.1, page 28 of 31. 23. No 21 to 770, 2D Sir April 27, 2021, United States v. Kelly, No 19 CR 286, AMD, 2020 WL 252-8922, EDNY.
Is that United States versus Kelly Kelly? Oh, that is.
20 to 1720, 2020 WL 701-9289.
Oh, they used the R. Kelly case law.
2020, United States v. Epstein.
Okay.
425 F sub 3D 306, 309, SDNY 2019, United States v. Ronier, No 18 CR 204-1, NGG, 2018 WL 305-7702, at *1, EDNY June 20th, 2018. In contrast, the decision here reflects a wholesale departure from the Act's requirements. The court made no factual findings and failed to weigh the statutorily enumerated factors. Although robotic incantations are not required, Mattis, 963 F.3d at 292, it is not at all clear what facts the district court used to support its decision, 18 U.S.C. 3142, F.2. Nor is it clear what evidence, if any, the court credited, why or on what basis it rejected the defense proffers rebutting the government's claims, or how it made its ultimate determination. The absence of such findings is particularly troubling here because the government proceeded largely by proffer, simply stating in the most general and conclusory terms what it hoped to prove. United States v. Martyr, 782 F.2d 1141, 1147, 2d Sir 1986. Although courts may rely on proffers, the exercise of that discretion should reflect an awareness of the high stakes involved. ID at 1145. But here, the district court took no additional steps to ensure the reliability of the evidence. LaFontaine, 210 F.3d at 131, and because counsel contested the 29 of 270, page 29 of 270 case, 24 to 2606, October 8, 2024, DKT entry, 16.1, page 29 of 31. 24. Government's version of events with a competing defense proffer, the evidence was at a minimum in equipoise. Without meaningful factual findings and weighing of the evidence, the detention order lacked any basis. This court has reversed similarly defective detention orders. See United States v. Friedman, 837 F.2d 48, 50, 2d Sir 1988, vacating and remanding where detention order contained only implicit findings relating to risk of flight and no finding whatsoever on obstruction. Barrios, 791 F.2d at 251, remanding where district court failed to explain on the record the basis for conclusions. It should do so here too. Conclusion: for the foregoing reasons, the district court's detention order should be reversed. The court should order Mr. Combs' release under the conditions proposed below, or any additional conditions the court deems necessary. Dated, New York /S/Alexandra A. Shapiro, October 8, 2024. Alexandra A. Shapiro, Jason A. Driscoll Shapiro, Arado Bach LLP, 1140 Avenue of the Americas, 17th floor, New York, 100362122574880. Attorneys for defendant appellant Sean Combs. 30 of 270, page 30 of 270 case, 24 to 2606, October 8, 2024, DKT entry, 16.1, page 30 of 31. 25. Certificate of Compliance with Type Volume Limitation, Typeface Requirements, and Type Style Requirements 1. The undersigned counsel of record for defendant appellant Sean Combs certifies pursuant to Federal Rule of Appellate Procedure 27 that the foregoing brief contains 5,174 words, excluding the parts of the brief exempted by Federal Rule of Appellate Procedure 27, D2, according to the word count feature of Microsoft Word 2024. 2. This brief complies with the typeface and type style requirements of Federal Rule of Appellate Procedure 27, D1E. because this brief has bbe prepared in a proportionally spaced typeface using Microsoft Word 2024 in 14-point font of Times New Roman. Dated October 8, 2024 /S/ Alexandra A. Shapiro. Alexandra A. Shapiro. 31 of 270, page 31 of 270 case, 24 to 2606, October 8, 2024, DKT entry, 16.1, page 31 of 31. Case, 24 to 2606, October 8, 2024, DKT entry, 16.2, page 1 of 239. 24 to 2606 United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit for United States of America, Appellate v. Sean Combs, Defendant Appellant. On appeal from the United States District Court 4th Southern D1 STR1 CT of New YQRK, 24 CR 542, as Appellant's Appendix to the motion for pretrial release. Alexandra A. Shapiro, Jason A. Driscoll Shapiro, Arado Bach LLP, 1140 Avenue of the Americas, 17th floor, New York, New York, 100362122574880. Attorneys for Defendant Appellant. 32 of 270, page 32 of 270. Case, 24 to 2606, October 8, 2024, DKT entry, 16.2, page 2 of 239. Appendix DKT 2, DKT 5, DKT 8, DKT 13, DKT 13 to 1, DKT 13 to 2, DKT 13 to 3, DKT 13 to 4, DKT 13 to 5, DKT 13 to 6, DKT 13 to 7, DKT 13 to 8, DKT 15. Indictment. Government's letter requesting detention. Sean Combs's letter requesting pretrial release. Sean Combs's letter requesting release. Exhibit 1. Written appraisal of home. Exhibit 2. Satisfaction of mortgage. Exhibit 3. Letter to government dated April L. 2024. Exhibit 4. Email correspondence. Exhibit 5. Email correspondence. Exhibit 6. Email correspondence. Exhibit 7. Letter to government dated May 22, 2024. Exhibit 8. Letter to government dated June 13, 2024. Government's opposition to DKT 13. Transcript from September 17, 2024. Arraignment. Transcript from September 18, 2024. Bail hearing. A1, A15, A31, A41, A56, A87, A91, A93, A95, A99, A104, A106, A108, A114, A170. 33 of 270, page 33 of 270. Case, 24 to 2606, October 8, 2024, DKT entry, 16.2. Page 3 of 239 A001. I case 1:24 CR 00542 ALC document 2 filed September 12, 24 page 1 of 14. United States District Court Southern District of New York United States of America seal _ed indictment. V24 CR. Co-form A 542J Sean Combs. GA/K/a Puff Daddy, A/K/a P Diddy, A/K/a Diddy, A/K/a PD, A/K/a Love. 4. Defendant. Count 1, Racketeering Conspiracy, the Grand Jury Charges, Overview 1. 4 decades, Sean Combs, A/K/a Puff Daddy, A/K/a P Diddy, A/K/a Diddy, A/K/PD, AMA Love, the defendant, abused, threatened, and coerced women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct.
Shut up.
To do so, Combs relied on the employ.
Okay. So there you have it. Wow. A lot going on, people. A lot, but I was back and knocked out, y'all. So. Okay. I don't know how that got up there. It's just something every day with this case and people and all of this. I just don't know. I just do not know. This is why you always need to have you around a strong support system around you. Someone that's going to not go along with your whatever it is you're doing to destroy yourself and all of that, right? You're gonna have to have people around you that's going to tell you the truth and that's going to try to help keep you out of trouble and stuff, right? And hanging around the wrong crowds and stuff. Learn how to tell your ass no. But this is crazy. This is crazy. But anyway, y'all know I gotta get up out of here. So check this out right here. Hey, make sure you do something good for yourself and someone else. Make sure you take care of one another. Take care of people's mind, body, and soul. And guess what, honey? I'm out of here. So are you.